let's talk about something very interesting: power dynamics. That whole game of being the best, but also keeping it together so you don't seem too full of yourself. Imagine being part of an old aristocratic court back in history. The person at the top was the king or queen, and everyone around them had to play a delicate game. They had to serve their masters, but if they seemed too eager, the other courtiers would get suspicious and start against them. It's kind of like that today, where we imagine ourselves as civilized and democratic, but sometimes that means we can be just as sneaky and manipulative as the old courtiers were. As the great Renaissance diplomat Machiavelli wrote, "Any man who tries to be good all the time is bound to come to ruin among the great number who are not good." So, what's the game of power all about? Well, it's like a never-ending battle where you have to stay one step ahead. And sometimes, the only way to do that is by pretending to be something you're not. Take me, for example. When I graduated with a degree in classics and started working, I was completely blindsided by the real world. Everyone had their own agendas, and it was like being a mouse in a laboratory with all these people as scientists. I thought what mattered most was doing a great job and showing off my skills, but that ended up making me an enemy to someone I worked for. It turns out, they were just insecure about being overshadowed by someone who seemed more talented. So, I learned the hard way that there's this one law of power called Law 1: never outshine the master. If you want to avoid getting into trouble, it's best not to be the star of the show all the time. You have to make sure your superior is feeling good about themselves too. It was a bit of an eye-opener for me, but after that experience, I realized that the game of power isn't just about winning, it's also about understanding how we fit into these complex networks and environments. So, what did I take away from all this? Well, I started to observe the world like a scientist would. I noticed patterns and behaviors that helped me navigate situations more easily. And out of that perspective, I wrote the 48 Laws of Power, my guide to surviving and thriving in a world where power dynamics can be tricky. It's funny, isn't it? We think we're just trying to do our best, but really, we're all just playing this game of power. And if you want to make it to the top, you have to know how to play the game.